Welcome in again, everybody. It is a privilege to have you on board with us. I am Benjamin Parker. We are joined by Simon Short. We have been working all summer on these offensive line videos. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But first of all, Simon, how are you doing tonight, man?
Ben, I'm fantastic, man. It's Christmas morning. It's whatever holiday that you celebrate there at home watching. You build up, you prep, you do your shopping, you make your meals, you have your family over, and today's the day we get to celebrate, have all the presents. We're gonna rank these guys, man. I'm excited.
And if you watching in our audience think that we're a couple of nerds who love the offensive line, we're a couple of nerds who love
Yeah,
the
you're right.
offensive
You're
line.
right. Ding ding ding.
All right. Well, we have worked all summer on these offensive line grades. If you're interested in a certain division, those videos are already up on Sports and Money YouTube. We hope some of them will be coming out on Phantom Sports YouTube as well. We've done all the divisions, all the teams. What we haven't done is gone through and given an overall ranking to all these teams. That's where we're going to start at tonight. So thank you for hopping on for this ride. Let's jump right into it. We're going to start at the bottom of the list, work our way up. Tonight, we're covering the bottom part. Simon, get this party rolling and tell us who the worst offensive line in football is, man.
I feel like I have so much power. This doesn't feel right. Ben, this is easy. If you've been following along, watching these division videos, I only gave out one F. It was to the Chicago Bears. I think just a really, really rough group. The way it's looking right now, you really wish they had done something more for this team in the off season, more for Justin Fields. But they're relying heavy on Tevin Jenkins and Larry Bourne there to be their tackles, which there's some potential, but it's a big risk, and nobody on the inside really makes you feel that much better about it. So this one was pretty easy for me. I got Chicago at 32.
Agreed. We will not stay there long. I may have to put in a charger here in just a second for my phone. I apologize. We won't stay on the Bears long, so sorry, Bears fans. Your front office, and again, I don't mean a front office bash, but your new front office and your old front office haven't done much to help out Justin Fields. They just haven't. This has been an ignored offensive line, and it used not to be the case 2 or 3 years ago, but right now it is. They've done very little. They put in a couple of 6th and 7th round draft picks, and that's about it. They haven't done much in free agency. They haven't invested high draft picks. They haven't done a good job developing what they have. So I've got an F minus on the Bears. It looks like it's going to be a rough year for the Bears on the offensive line, and sadly for Justin Fields too, who I think has some potential, honestly. All right, number 31.
31. This one was also pretty easy for me as the only D that I gave, and it goes to the Seattle Seahawks. And a little bit more defensible than the Bears, just from the standpoint of this team has made a recent investment, obviously, with a first round pick and Charles Cross at left tackle. I like their inside guys a tiny bit more as being either, solid bets or some other recent draft picks. They also have Abraham Lucas or Jake Curhan, who was a nice little gem last year at right tackle. So there's some stuff to work with, but it's very little. And you're talking about potentially 2 starting rookie tackles, which is not great. And I don't think the depth is that much better for this group. So this is a D for me. Now, if Charles Cross comes in and lights it up, they could look a lot better. That's hard to do as a rookie. And the team is in a bit of a transition mode anyways. Their quarterback situation is not going to help the offensive line. So I got a D here for Seattle coming in at 31.
100% agree. I've got them ranked number 31 as well. I'm sure our rankings will start to vary as we get farther up the list, but this one was pretty easy. And again, Seahawks fan, we're not offensive line bashing here, but when you start comparing to other offensive lines, the Seahawks offensive line will be at the bottom this year unless there are some huge surprises. So I like the direction they're going in 2023 and in 2024. Looks like they ought to have some good things going on with Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas. You mentioned them both, rookie offensive tackles. Gabe Jackson, I like at guard if he's healthy. So they have a chance to maybe sort of be competitive this year, but that means a lot of things have to go their way, including injuries because they don't have a lot of depth. So they're number 31 checking in at on this offensive line list. All right, Simon, number 30.
30. So we're now kind of in my group that's just a tick below average. So and that's not a terrible place to be when it comes to offensive line. I want to make that note pretty clear. For the NFL, if you have if you're pretty good in a couple areas on offense, you can survive with just kind of a so-so offensive line. It depends on the way you play, depends on your offensive style, depends on your quarterback, what your run game looks like, and even what that offensive line is good at. So I have some offensive lines here that are terrible in the run game, but they're great in pass pro, and maybe the team wants to throw the ball 40 times anyway, so it's not that bad. So now that we're out of the dungeons of the offensive line, I think the rest of these groups you can win with and have a solid team with. So bear that in mind, fans, as we talk about the rest of these offensive lines here. To these other 30 teams, congrats on not having a terrible group. To the Seahawks and Bears, we're sorry. Again, I like those tackles that we all talked about, but they got some work to do. So enough of that. Here at 30, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a group that, if you look at them left to right, it looks okay from the start. Colton Miller is fine. John Simpson is fine. Andre James, okay, you can work with. And then it gets dicey. Then you're counting on Alex Leatherwood. What's he going to play this year? He was a first-round pick last year's draft. Can he be a right tackle again? They apparently want to maybe try him out at that again. If not him, is it Brandon Parker, who started there last year once they moved Leatherwood inside? That's not great. Does Denzel Good get back into the starting lineup after missing nearly all of last year, save for like one or two possessions, I think? Or does a guy like Dylan Parham, a rookie, get kind of mixed in here? Can he do something at one of the guard spots? So there's some pieces here, but that right side of the line just makes me really nervous right now in Leatherwood and Parker. And I do think it's a big hurt to the Raiders. And with Josh McDaniels coming over, you think they're going to want to have a similar build to the Patriots, where it's a good pass protecting offensive line. That's really not what this Raiders team is. So we'll have to see what they look like, what they want to do. But that right side of the line is just really bad. It was really tough last year. So I have the Raiders here at 30.
I've got the number 22. So this is our first huge difference here in terms of rankings. But I will point out something we're going to run into all up and down this list. These teams get into clusters where really there's not a lot of difference in some of these offensive lines. It's just about what you're expecting out of certain people and what you like. Now, here's what I like about the Raiders, because everything you just said about the Raiders is true, every bit of it. But here's what I like. I like Colton Miller at the left tackle spot. Matter of fact, I probably got him graded a little bit higher than you do. So I love starting off with him. I think Andre James, while he's not great, you can get by with him at center. He will compete at center and give you a chance. Probably where I'm kicking in higher than you is on Denzel Good. I'm assuming, maybe wrongly, that he's coming back off that ACL, at some point at 100%, but he may not. It may be the entire season before he's anywhere near ready to go in terms of what we're used to seeing out of Denzel Good. So, again, I'm assuming that Denzel Good is coming back ready to go, but he may not be. So, assuming he's in, and I've kind of got them sitting at 7 deep. So, I think they can absorb an injury or two as long as it's not to Colton Miller. But everything you said about the right side of the line is true. It falls apart quick. Maybe Dylan Parham, I'm counting him as part of that depth, possibly, but he may not be able to contribute anything this year. What do they do with Alex Leatherwood? Do they find a spot for him? That's completely up in the air. Everything you said is true. Again, we're talking comparisons. I've got them checking in at 22, and you've got them at number 30. All right, number 29 on your list.
29, I have the Houston Texans. So this is really based on the return of Laramie Tunsil and the drafting of Kenyon Green, a guy that we both liked pretty well coming out of the draft. And really, you just hope for this group that they can stay healthy. And with the addition of Green, they can keep Titus Howard over there at right tackle. Howard has shown some flashes in the NFL in I think these first 3-4 years in the league, but they've moved around a lot. He's played both tackle spots and I think both guard spots already in his time. Hasn't really got to stay in one place very long. I think Tunsil being back is good. That's a high level offensive lineman over there, left tackle. I think Kenyon Green is going to be good. That said, Justin Britt is just fine. AJ Cann is a guy they signed in free agency. He's going to be their right guard. one of my lowest ranked guards in terms of the starters in the league right now. He's a decent run blocker, but pass pro is just not there at all. So between Howard still kind of figuring some things out, Britt, I think just being about an average center, Can being not very good. And then Green will have some sort of learning curve. I don't think he's going to be day one, Pro Bowl kind of guard right off the bat. I think there's another rookie guard out there we'll talk about later. So this is a group that, again, on paper has some nice pieces, but the depth is lacking. And we have to see what Howard can do in a full season at right tackle, see how Green develops, but Can just really brings this group down for me. So Texans are who I have here at 29.
I'm with you all the way. They're my number 30 team, so we're lockstep again on this. I like Larry Matunzel at left tackle. I'd still like to see more out of him. I think he could be a Hall of Famer in terms of talent, but he hasn't yet delivered that. He's been good. He hasn't been dominant, which is where I want to see him step up to. But you start there. You mentioned Kenyon Green. We both like at left guard, but again, going to be some learning curve in his first season. Justin Britt, they'll be fine at center. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but they'll be fine. And then it drops off. AJ Can has talent. People have liked him from the get-go, and yet he's kind of disappointed, to be honest. So he needs to step up. Titus Howard at right tackle. Again, maybe he can hold his own, but we haven't seen it yet. And then it just drops off a complete cliff. You mentioned it already, the depth. There really is none. I mean, maybe Cedric Ogbuehi, maybe, possibly, for a couple of games. There really is no depth here on the Texans. But I will finish up with this on the Texans. We said it in the division video. This is a big step up for Houston because they have been miserable at the offensive line for years. And so, Houston fans, be excited. Your team isn't miserable on the O-line anymore. This is a huge step up. You can compete on this offensive line. Totally agree. Number 30 for me.
Ready for 28?
We are ready. Actually, number 29.
That was 29.
Oh, you're right. I sorry. I double dipped on a 30. You don't have two 30s.
See, I was about to say, where does this mean you have? I think we have the same team ranked here then probably. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers here at 28. And this was me just pulling some Jedi mind trick on you so you couldn't have them down at 30 or 29 or something like that. I want some respect on the Steelers being the 28th best offensive line. No, it's still a rough group for Pittsburgh. And I've done a lot of talk and work on this group. But, left to right, you've got Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Dotson, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Chukwuma Okorafor. Moore, Dotson, and Okorafor are all guys as of right now haven't proven to be any more than, at best, the fourth best offensive lineman on a good team. Dotson, I think, of the group has the most potential to be maybe second at best player on a good offensive line. Second best player on a good offensive line, but injuries, inconsistency in starting, and just the snaps within the snaps that he's played haven't been where you would like it to be. All three of those guys are just average offensive linemen right now. Dan Moore had a rough start to his rookie year, but was pretty good by the end of the season. So I'm just netting him out as somewhere in the middle at this moment. This group upgraded center in Mason Cole, just from the standpoint that they have an NFL vet center with some size, with some NFL experience, and just center experience in general. Kendrick Green came in, an underclassman from college who played, I think, 2 games of center in his entire college career. And the Steelers tried to make him their starting center from day one. This is automatically an upgrade from where this group was last year. And then obviously I haven't even mentioned James Daniels, their free agent signing from, the beginning of the offseason. Already walks in as the most talented guy in this group. But at the same time, he's coming from the Chicago Bears where, he was the best offensive lineman on a really bad offensive line. So how good is he really? Do you want him to be your best player? Maybe, maybe not. He's still really young. He's still getting better. Maybe playing next to a Chukwuma Okorafor instead of a Larry Borum like last year, or Tevin Jenkins can make him look a little bit better. Point being, right now, this is just kind of a blah group. Mason Cole is just hoping to be a average center. If he can do that, you expect everybody else to be a little bit better. Maybe this group is pretty good. If he is, not, or gets hurt again and Kendrick Green has to play, this group is going to, go south quick again.
I'm with you all the way on your beloved Steelers. And obviously, you know them way better than I do, but I've got them checking in at number 29. Um, there's nothing ugly here, but you mentioned it's kind of a blah group.
Yep.
When you look at their talent level, there aren't many guys here that other teams would look at and go, boy, we really wish we had that guy. I mean, the Bears are looking at all these guys and wishing that,
Right.
but, not many other teams are. So there's not a lot of talent, but there are pieces to work with. You talked about it in the division videos, how that some of these people are flexible. Some of them are bigger than they were last year. Some of them are going to get in a better spot than they were last year. And oh, by the way, I trust the Steelers franchise and I trust Mike Tomlin to make this group work this year. So I don't think they'll be dominant, but I think they can be competitive. And you mentioned it at the start of this video, that's all you need to compete is to have this kind of talent level on the offensive line. So there's not a lot, but they will compete. They'll be fine. I've got them checking in at number 29. All right, number 27 for you, I think.
27. I have the Miami Dolphins here. This group, I think I've seen ranked a little higher in some places, and I would have had a little bit higher if they weren't trying this Connor Williams as their starting center kind of idea. That really threw me off when I saw it. And from a team building standpoint, we talked about this in the division video, but what they're probably trying to do with this is get their two young offensive linemen, Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson, into the starting group. So left to right, what they're probably trying to put together with Connor Williams at center is Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg at guard, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson at tackle. The problem with that is I think you're not putting your best five out there if you do that. Right. Then you get into all the machinations because, if Dieter is your fifth best offensive lineman, you put him at center, you put Williams at left guard. Eichenberg at tackle is better than Jackson, but probably still not very good. So you want Eichenberg at guard. So really this team is missing another tackle, and that's what puts them below average for me. I actually like this group of Armstead, Eichenberg, Williams, and Hunt, but that right tackle position is going to be a real killer for them, and I wish they had done something else with it. But again, from a team building idea, if I'm just like the lucky GM that gets to sit up in the box on Sundays and I say I've got my first round tackle and my second round tackle both there on the offensive line, I made two big splashy free agent moves. That's great. Got solid Robert Hunt there. You feel pretty good about that. But in terms of what it's going to be on game day, I have a lot of questions about Austin Jackson. And I have a lot of questions about Connor Williams playing center. He's never done it before. He was a tackle in college. He's been a guard in the NFL. Now they're going to have him play center. And, Mike McDaniel is the coach. He comes from San Francisco. If he's anything like Kyle Shanahan, it's a very systematic approach to this run game where everybody has to be on their P's and Q's at all times. Connor Williams was already penalty prone. If you now throw him at center, make him do something else and put him in kind of a tougher kind of offense, I just have a lot of questions. This group can be very good. Like I said, two high draft picks, two big free agents, and Robert Hunt sounds good on paper, looks good on paper. In practice, I'm pretty nervous. So I've got Miami here at 27.
You said that so well. I almost don't even want to add anything to it. That might be the best synopsis you've given on offensive line in all the weeks we've been doing it. That was perfect. I agree with, I think, every single little, dot of the I that you put in there. Because you start off with Teron Armstead, whom I think we both love as long as he's healthy, which he's often not. But great start. And we kind of sort of think Eichenberg can hold his own. And we like Connor Williams at guard, but not center. And Robert Hunt can hold his own at guard. So the talent is there. But then you mentioned it. When it actually comes to game day, where are these guys going to play? They're short of tackle, which leads them to start dominoing these guys around, which means probably at least one, if not two people are playing a position they either shouldn't be playing at all or isn't best for them. And then, oh, by the way, they have no depth. I mean, absolutely none. This is one of the worst depth teams in all of football. Maybe obviously Michael Dieter, you can count him in. But if he's not starting at center, he's sitting on the bench. That basically means you've only got four guys who really should be starting. So I've got them ranked number 23. You've got them ranked number 27. I like the talent here, those first five. But I'm not sure I trust the Dolphins franchise to get this right this year. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We'll see. A lot of moving pieces here, lots of question marks about where these guys are going to play. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm at number 23. I've got a C- on the Dolphins. For you, number 26.
26. I have the Minnesota Vikings. So we're officially now in my C category. So in my this is completely average group. So we just came out of my C minuses, like you just said with the Dolphins, where tick below what you think your average offensive line is. We're now in the average group for me. I like some of the pieces here in Minnesota. I like Christian Darrisaw a lot. I think he's going to be good. I like Ezra Cleveland a lot. I think he was a nice find for them. Um, Brian O'Neill is solid over there at right tackle. Jesse Davis, who they got from Miami, coincidentally, who was one of those cases of, a decent, maybe the second best offensive lineman on a bad team. So maybe he could be your fifth best offensive lineman on a good team. And they're probably kicking him into guard. So we'll see. We have to see how that works. Him in a vacuum, pretty good. Can he be in this like super wide zone running scheme that Minnesota likes to be in? I don't know. We'll see. So there's a question mark. And Garrett Bradbury at center, we've had our discussions about him. Everyone kind of knows where he's at. Didn't get his fifth-year option picked up. Is looking like he's going to be a bench guy here by next season, unfortunately. Just never really got to it. And, we've also had this conversation, these smaller centers who are supposed to be proficient in these, zone running schemes. Sometimes they work, a la Brian Allen of the Rams. Sometimes they don't work, a la Garrett Bradbury. And you just kind of run the risk when you do it. So there are things I like about this group. They obviously do what they do well. That's why Dalvin Cook has had, the last couple of years that he's had. That's why when Alexander Madison goes in, there's not too big of a drop off. So they obviously do what they do well. Jesse Davis is a question mark. Garrett Bradbury is a question mark, but we've already seen them have some success with them. But I like Darrisaw in Cleveland over there on the left side. Brian O'Neill solid. So this is just an average group for me.
I think we know what the Vikings are, right? Two good, solid tackles that give you a chance to compete and maybe even get better. But then as you start to work your way in to the guards, there's a drop off. And then you work your way to center, there's a drop off. They have a couple of guys here that provide depth, but they are the epitome of average. The Vikings and the Cowboys seem to be fighting each other over, the title of average, most mediocre in everything, single thing. Maybe not the Cowboys as much the past two seasons, but over the past, say, 10, 15 years, both of these franchises are doing exactly that. They cannot seem to get past that. And that's what the Vikings offensive line is, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. It gives you a chance to compete. Now, for me, this is where mine and your list start to skew differently. For me, average starts a lot higher. I don't have as many people in my average group. I've still got some red ink teams, as it were. So in terms of rankings, I've got the Vikings up at number 18, which is quite a difference in terms of rankings. But I think we both agree about what the Vikings are. They're good, average, offensive line, gives you a chance, not going to impress anybody, not going to dominate anybody, gives you a chance every week. So 18 for me, 26 for you, and number 25 for you.
Let's see, 25. I have the Atlanta Falcons coming in here. So this is a group that, similarly to what we talked about with the Dolphins, on paper should be pretty good. They've made some heavy investments in these guys. Jake Matthews, Jalen Mayfield, Matt Hennessy, Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry. I'm pretty sure there's 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick in that group. Something like that. I might not have it exactly right here off the top of my head, but they have a lot invested in this group. They've started a lot of games together. Jalen Mayfield was a rookie this year, but he started, I think, 16 or if not 17 games. And these other guys have been together for a couple of years now. So on paper, you see that and you think, oh, okay, must be a pretty good group. No, not a whole lot. Pass pro is okay. Pass pro is okay. Caleb McGarry struggles. He's where most of the pressures came from for Matt Ryan last year. Jalen Mayfield has his struggles, but between Matt Hennessy and Jake Matthews, he's kind of mitigated. This group doesn't get anything in the run game, though. They don't get a lot of push off of the line of scrimmage. So that's obviously a big kind of knock on them. Of course, that's where Caleb McGarry that's where his money is made because he's big, he's strong, he has pretty good feet. So he's kind of off the boat from the rest of the guys and what he does. But it's just kind of blah. And some days they can look pretty good because of that chemistry and because of, there is talent there, but most days you just don't really get what you want. You just want a little bit more than you get every time. So I have Atlanta here at 25, just kind of an average group.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've got them ranked number 28, so we're not that far off. I've got them in the D category. This is one of my red ink teams. I don't think they're going to be a disaster. I think the starting problem for me with the Falcons is I don't see a stud on this offensive line. There's nobody that you look at and go, wow, that's what you build the offensive line around, or that's this guy just dominates his battles every week, or this guy is probably going to win his battles every week. There's not a guy like that. Now, I think I'm higher on Chris Lindstrom than you are, but even I don't necessarily think that Lindstrom is in the Pro Bowl All-Pro category. I've got him
he's supposed to be that guy, and yeah, I'm with you. I haven't quite seen it to where it's talked about a lot for him being that guy. There's a lot of he was almost an All-Pro, but almost an All-Pro isn't an All-Pro. So
the consistency hasn't been there. We've seen the flashes, and there are times that he does dominate certain weeks. So Lindstrom will be the lead horse here. There was a time when Jake Matthews at left tackle was that guy. I think that time has passed. So Jake Matthews will hold you down. But then after that, you just got several guys here who you kind of wish you could upgrade as the starter. And that goes to Matt Hennessy at center, whether it's Elijah Wilkinson, Caleb McGarry, Jalen Mayfield, Jermaine Ifedi, Drew Dahlman, any of those guys. You're like, well, we could get by for a few weeks with this, but we'd also like to upgrade them every offseason too. So I've got them number 28. Originally, I gave them a C minus D plus, but the more I looked at it, I just didn't like the talent level here. So I've got them at just a flat D here in the red ink. Number 24 for you, I think it is. Is this the last one on your?
Yes, this is my last of the bottom tier. This is my last average, just so group. And I think this is going to be one where we differ on as well. So we'll see. But I have the Denver Broncos here. I think I'm just a little lower on the Broncos than most in general. This is another one of those groups that starts off pretty good on the left side. Garrett Bowles, you like. Dalton Risner, you like. Lloyd Cushenberry is a guy I personally like, but hasn't quite had the career yet that you would like. And then it gets kind of confusing. So at right guard, you have Graham Glasgow, who is probably going to be the starter. But you have a guy like Quinn Miners who's in there competing for that. You have a guy like Tane Moody who's in there competing for that. Not that any of those three are necessarily good, but Miners, at least younger guy, pedigree guy, was a draft pick last year. He has some potential. At right tackle, I do like the addition of Billy Turner coming over from Green Bay. Obviously, a guy that's going to know how they want to play with the coaching change for them. They even have a veteran, Tom Compton, that's over there that can compete at right tackle. So I like some of the pieces here. But my big question is that right guard spot is just so bad. And Lloyd Cushenberry at center is just not quite good enough to make up for that yet. And you add a new right tackle. When you have that many question marks, that's just kind of a red flag for me. Now, I will say for Cushenberry, he looked much better last year as a second year starter than he did in his rookie year. I know we don't want to talk about these guys too much, but PFF and their grades for him, they're projecting a big jump for him, which is a little dangerous to do, I think, because he was so bad his first year and he was just average this past year. Expecting a similar jump now from average to like a really good offensive lineman, that's the even harder one. So I don't know if he's going to quite get there. If he's just an average center for the next 2 to, let's say, 5 years, something like that, that's pretty good. And that's, almost all you can ask for an offensive lineman. Projecting anything more in terms of him carrying this group as the second or third best guy is kind of a big ask, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too far off from you here. I'm at number 21 for the Broncos in terms of rankings, and you had them at 24. I've got them at a C minus. So we're pretty close on this. And basically everything you said from there, I agree with, even though our rankings and our grades are just a little bit different. Basically, the diagnosis is the same. I like Garrett Bowles. I think he's basically a stud at left tackle. He's not going to win every battle every week, but he's in the Pro Bowl chance category. Graham Glasgow, I think, holds down that guard spot. You mentioned that. And then after that, it falls off really quick. So they have a whole bunch of pieces here. I think they go maybe 7, 8, 9 deep, depending on who's healthy and who you like. And I think maybe a lot of people just assume because Russell Wilson's at quarterback and because the Broncos have a lot of really good pieces on the team, and because the Broncos usually kind of figure it out on the offensive line, that they are going to be good on the offensive line this year. But when just looking at the talent right now, just talking about that, on the right side of that line, you mentioned it, it falls apart in a hurry. There's a lot of guys who could play, but nobody that you point at and go, that's our starter right there. And we're going to be very happy that he's our starter all year long.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys aren't there. And I don't think they're going to be there in October or November either. I think they'll do a pretty good job figuring it out. I think they'll kind of put this mesh puzzle together. But do I think that they're going to have a lockstep starting five all year that's going to push people around, especially in the AFC? No, that's just not going to happen. So number 24 for you, number 21 for me. And I think that's the end of your bad and below average a tier here, right?
Yep, that is. That's my not so good tier, not quite what you want tier. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, the bottom of the barrel.
All right, we've enjoyed it. Everybody, if you're watching, we put a lot of work into this. We enjoy every minute of it. We've got more tiers coming out. We've got the middle tier, and then we've got, of course, somewhere between the elite to very good group of offensive lines coming out as well. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you so much for being with us. Simon Short has the Simon Short podcast. We are both kind of affiliated with Phantom Sports, who has a website in which they cover all kinds of sports. And Phantom Sports also has this YouTube channel that you might be watching. And then we have our own Sports and Money YouTube channels as well. You see behind me the In the Flat podcast that comes out every single week covering college football with Tony Keel and Jordan Schultz. We have content all over the place that me and Simon are a part of. But feel free to continue watching. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye.